Welcome back. According to the U.S. State Department, sex trafficking is one of the fastest growing crimes worldwide. But some studies show the very people who have the power to help stop it aren't receiving the training they need.
Hey, Carly Barnett joins us to explain what some medical professionals are doing to change that.
Frank, Lori, sex trafficking is a problem we have talked about, unfortunately, several times here on 13 WMAZ. But a recent study shows most of the medical professionals who could help simply don't have the resources to intervene. So I spoke with local nurses and advocates who explain why a push for federal legislation could save lives. Over the last few years, Central Georgia has seen multiple sex trafficking cases, and the problem is only getting worse. Something Denise Atkinson knows all too well.
Assessment for injury, collection of evidence.
As a forensic nurse and director of the Crisis Line and Safe House Clinic, she examines the victims of sex crimes.
It's happening right in our community, and people just don't realize that.
Atkinson says even medical professionals are often in the dark. In a study published by Johns Hopkins University, 95% of emergency room doctors and nurses say they never received formal training on the appropriate treatment of trafficking victims. And that is concerning since the Annals of Health Law reports 88% of sex trafficking survivors say they went to a healthcare provider while being trafficked. Survivors who could have been saved sooner. To show the scope of this, Georgia ranks 7th in the entire country for sex trafficking cases, and those cases increased by 40% from 2015 to 2017.
That was very alarming to me.
Amanda Parkerson is a graduate nursing student at Georgia College.
So I feel like if we can just start understanding that this is an issue, that's a good way to begin.
To help with that, advocates and many others in the medical field support the SOAR to Health and Wellness Act. It's federal legislation which would establish training for all healthcare professionals on how to spot victims of sex trafficking and provide them with the help they need.
If you're not aware that it's a potential, you're going to miss it, because very often they're going to come in, you're going to see them, you're going to treat these people as a patient, and they're going to leave and you're never going to know it.
That's why Dr. Deborah McMillan, director of nursing at Georgia College, has already been teaching this in her curriculum for years.
You know, we wouldn't not teach our students to screen for diabetes. We would not teach our students to screen for hypertension. And this is really, you know, as relevant as any of those.
And she didn't need an act of legislation to see the importance firsthand.
We were able to get them into a different exam room. We were able to get the person out front. And we actually took them out the back door to a safe house, and we had the law enforcement come in the front door.
Atkinson says if you have suspicions, like if the patient has multiple infections or injuries that don't match their story, it's important to ask the right questions.
Are you able to come and go and leave your house whenever you want to? Do you have to ask permission to do things from someone? And it just kind of opens the door, because they're going to come through the ER at some point.
That's why Parkerson wants to be on the first line of defense.
Police and all do a great job at finding and helping these people, but we need to identify them first, and I feel like that's our job.
Being aware of the red flags and intervening could mean you don't just treat your patient, you free them.
Comes right up the middle of Georgia, I-16, I-75, and that's where it all travels. Their end destination might be Atlanta, but they're coming through Macon.
At this point, that act has passed the House, but it still hasn't passed the Senate. We have more information from Bibb County District Attorney David Cook online, as well as what local hospitals Coliseum and Navicent had to say. Frank, Lori.
Thank you, Carly. If you know someone who needs help, there is hope. You can call the National Trafficking Hotline 24 hours a day. The number is 1-888-373-7888. Again, that's 1-888-373-7888.
Important information.